In the private auction rooms of Paris and London, a silent revolution is transforming the ancient codes of luxury. Behind the discreet doors of exclusive boutiques on Rue Saint-Honoré and New Bond Street, the most savvy collectors are building their dream wardrobes today according to a strategy that prestigious houses once feared, an approach that has become the secret weapon of the most sophisticated connoisseurs. The pre-loved luxury market now represents $33 billion globally, and this staggering sum continues to grow at a pace that far exceeds that of new luxury. This profound transformation in the relationship to excellence and exclusivity completely redefines how fashion enthusiasts build their personal collections. Hermès Birkin bags purchased 10 years ago are now worth up to 3 times their original price, outperforming certain traditional stock market investments. This economic reality fascinates investors and luxury fashion lovers alike, creating a unique ecosystem where aesthetics meets financial strategy. Vintage Rolex watches and iconic pieces from major houses never lose their value when they are authentic and perfectly preserved. On the contrary, certain creations become true coveted treasures whose rarity increases desirability over the years. Initiated collectors know how to identify these gems that transcend ephemeral trends to become part of timeless fashion history. This deep knowledge of luxury codes separates true connoisseurs from simple consumers, transforming the purchase of a collector piece into a decision as thoughtful as an art investment. If you are discovering for the first time the fascinating world of timeless luxury and wish to explore with us the secrets of the smartest investments, join the Lux Eternal community by subscribing and activating the notification bell. Every week, we unveil the little-known strategies that allow insiders to build exceptional collections without spending fortunes. The history of pre-loved luxury truly begins in the 1980s, when the first specialized auction houses understood that certain fashion objects possessed heritage value comparable to artworks. Before this era, the very idea of buying worn designer clothing seemed contradictory to the exclusivity values conveyed by major houses. Yet collectors of vintage pieces were beginning to understand that a Chanel coat from the 60s or a Dior dress from the new look possessed an irreplaceable historical dimension. These creations did not simply represent used clothing, but tangible fragments of haute couture history, material testimonies of the creative genius of their respective eras. The digital transformation of the 2010s revolutionized this confidential market, democratizing access to luxury treasures while preserving their aura of exclusivity. Specialized platforms like Vestiaire Collective, the RealReal, and Rebag have revolutionized the way enthusiasts discover and acquire exceptional pieces. These sophisticated interfaces combine human expertise and cutting-edge technology to guarantee the absolute authenticity of each creation offered. Certificates of origin, serial numbers, manufacturing particularities, every detail is scrutinized by experts trained directly with prestigious houses. This rigor in verification transforms the purchase of a vintage Louis Vuitton bag or a collectible Patek Philippe watch into an experience as secure as acquiring a new piece in a boutique. Investment strategies in pre-loved luxury particularly fascinate new collectors who discover that intelligence and patience are often worth more than an unlimited budget. Contrary to popular belief, building an iconic wardrobe does not necessarily require astronomical sums if one knows how to identify opportunities at the right time. Certain classic pieces temporarily lose favor with the general public when trends evolve, creating exceptional acquisition windows for connoisseurs who think long-term. A vintage Burberry trench, a Hermès Kelly bag in a less sought-after color, or a Cartier tank watch from an earlier generation can be acquired at remarkably accessible prices. A few years later, when fashion rediscovers these timeless creations, their value multiplies spectacularly. The most savvy collectors develop true expertise in the art of recognizing undervalued creations that will inevitably regain their place at the top of the taste hierarchy. This deep knowledge of fashion cycles and the history of legendary houses transforms each acquisition into a calculated bet on the future of style. The notion of sustainability now plays a central role in the growing appeal of pre-loved luxury, particularly among new generations of collectors. Statistics reveal that buying a pre-loved piece reduces its carbon footprint by 82% compared to acquiring a new creation. This ecological consciousness in no way diminishes the prestige associated with owning exceptional objects. It reinforces it, on the contrary, by adding an ethical dimension to the luxury equation. Historic houses themselves now recognize this reality by launching their own certification and resale programs for older pieces. Chanel, Cartier, and Rolex now offer official restoration and authentication services for their vintage creations, definitively legitimizing this once marginal market. This evolution marks a major philosophical turning point in the very definition of contemporary luxury, where rarity and sustainability become values as essential as excellence in craftsmanship. The secret codes for identifying a true opportunity in pre-loved luxury rest on several precise criteria that experienced collectors master perfectly. The state of preservation obviously constitutes the first determining factor, an impeccable piece always worth significantly more than a creation showing visible signs of wear. Handbags from certain houses age better than others thanks to exceptional leathers and superior construction techniques. A properly maintained Hermès Kelly or Chanel classic flap can cross several decades without losing its original splendor. Provenance also plays a fascinating role in evaluating a collector piece, particularly when it has a documented history. Objects that belong to celebrities or come from historic wardrobes reach valuations that far exceed their simple material value. Rarity naturally remains the ultimate factor of desirability. Certain limited editions or discontinued colors becoming true inaccessible treasures on the new market. Collectors develop encyclopedic knowledge of production details that allow them to instantly identify an exceptional piece. The art of negotiating and acquiring in the world of pre-loved luxury requires a subtle combination of strategic patience and decisive action at the opportune moment. Online auctions create a particular dynamic where emotion must give way to financial rationality to avoid overpaying for an acquisition. Setting mentally a maximum price before participating in an auction constitutes the fundamental rule that the most disciplined collectors religiously respect. Sales periods on certain specialized platforms offer substantial discounts on pieces that were stagnating in inventories, creating remarkable opportunities for vigilant buyers. End of season, collection changes, and promotional events constitute strategic moments to enrich your luxury wardrobe at lower cost. Building a lasting relationship with platform experts also allows access to privileged information about exceptional arrivals before they are offered to the general public. The frequent mistakes that beginners make in pre-loved luxury can be expensive, both financially and emotionally. The most common consists of favoring price over authenticity, a dangerous strategy in a market where sophisticated counterfeits proliferate. Saving a few €100 by buying on unverified platforms can turn into total loss when the object proves to be a worthless copy. Certified platforms invest considerable sums in training their experts and authentication technologies, fully justifying their commissions. Another error consists of neglecting the importance of detailed photographs and precise descriptions when evaluating a remote piece. Experienced buyers never hesitate to request additional images from different angles and lighting before finalizing an important acquisition. The temptation to impulsively buy a piece simply because it seems like a good deal often leads to accumulating objects that do not truly correspond to one's personal style. Building a coherent collection requires discipline and long-term vision rather than the disorderly accumulation of occasional opportunities. The future of the pre-loved luxury market looks extraordinarily promising according to the most respected analysts in the industry. Projections indicate that this sector could reach $65 billion by 2030, potentially surpassing certain segments of traditional luxury. This spectacular growth reflects a profound change in the very perception of what constitutes authentic prestige in the 21st century. New generations of collectors consider that buying intelligently demonstrates sophistication superior to simple ostentatious spending. This philosophical evolution transforms pre-loved luxury from an economic alternative into an affirmed choice of connoisseurs who favor history and rarity. Emerging technologies like blockchain promise to revolutionize this market even further by creating unfalsifiable digital certificates for each piece. These technological innovations will strengthen buyer confidence while facilitating complete traceability of each luxury creation throughout its existence. The ultimate wisdom in building a luxury wardrobe lies in understanding that true prestige transcends novelty to anchor itself in timelessness and absolute quality. Pre-loved pieces carry within them a richness that new cannot offer, a patina of history and a heritage dimension that enrich each wearing. This enlightened approach to luxury transforms each acquisition into a gesture both aesthetic and strategic, where immediate pleasure is accompanied by a long-term vision. Collectors who embrace this philosophy discover that they can access the most coveted creations while building a style heritage that appreciates over time.